move. Another shot.
One enemy remaining.
This is Ryan Fulford. A.B. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time-consuming. That's why when it comes to your auto, home, and life insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact me, Tammy Haynes, your local agent, for a free personalized insurance quote. Allstate, are you in good hands?
This is Carlos Brown, letting you know that we're on the move. You can now catch the Carlos Brown Show beginning this July on the Black College Sports Network each and every Saturday from 11 to 1 Eastern Time. That's 10 to 12 Central Time. Same time, new place. On Facebook at the Carlos Brown Show and Black College Sports Network. Online at www.mybcsn.net and on the BCSN app available on Google Play and the Apple App Store.
It's like a loot machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Hey man, how's everybody doing, man? It's your boy BJ Jones, man. We here. We have made it. Week number 3 of the HBCU football season. Had some interesting contests this weekend. We'll recap all of those. Dive into a few of these matchups, the winners, the losers, and really get ready for week 4. We got a big week. Not only in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, but also over in the MEAC. We'll talk about a couple of those games. A surprise team or two that we've seen so far here in the early going of the 2021 season. Um, Welcome to Inside HBCU Football, the realest, trillest place for sports and guy talk, especially sports of the HBCU variety. Shout out to Doug Stewart for that realest, trillest. My man Doug Stewart of the Two Live Stews. Um, Interesting weekend. Um, I think that we saw some coulda, woulda, shouldas this weekend. We'll talk about those. We saw some opportunities for a few FBS wins, not only in the Swac but over in the MEAC with South Carolina State, with them going out west to New Mexico State. Um, and I'm going to play therapist for just a little bit, so people will relax just a little bit. We'll get into all of that tonight. Our game of the week, well, my game of the week, the game that I had circled as the game of the week, actually happened on Thursday night. Alabama A&M going down to Daytona, Florida, to face off against Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman, their first game in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, first conference game, starting a new era, if you will, and everything that happened on Thursday night. We'll jump into that. Really excited. Don't let the eyes fool you. Tired. Was traveling this weekend. Just got back in from Dallas, Texas. Had a good time, but don't let the eyes fool you. I'm ready to go. I'm charged up. You should be ready to should be charged up as well. If you're watching this, don't care how you're watching. Facebook group, the Inside HBCU page, BCSN page. No matter how you're doing it, first of all, before we get started, I want to say I appreciate you. You could be anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with me, and I appreciate it. Let's get it started. Let's go to game of the week. It was the first game of the week, Thursday nighter on ESPN Family of Network. So you had the Alabama A&M Bulldogs visiting the Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman. And the Bethune-Cookman, we saw them week number one against UTEP, and they lost that game by 10. I think that people were impressed with the way that Bethune-Cookman controlled the line of scrimmage against UTEP, with UTEP being an FBS squad. They had some opportunities to win that football game. And then you fast forward to last week, week before last, week 2, they visit Central Florida. They actually did not play bad in that game. Actually did some things well. And then coming into Thursday, a lot of people picked Bethune-Cookman. They thought that the physicality up front was going to be too much for Alabama A&M. And how would A&M react? Remember, Alabama A&M had that close ball game week 1 against South Carolina State. They didn't play in week 2. They were off. And coming off that off week, only having one game in the books, how would they compete against Bethune-Cookman? One thing I can say about this game, I think that the wild card in this ball game on either side of the football was Gary Quarles, running back from Alabama A&M. We talk about the pass game in Alabama A&M with Keel Glass and that group of receivers, the Outlaws, as they like to be called. But it was one Gary Quarles from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, 27 carries for 101 yards. And then it was a hidden yardage that he was able to get during that particular ball game. Gary Quarles added 3 receptions for 46 yards. And it seemed like every reception that he had was an impactful one. A young man that almost had 150 total yards. I thought that he was the X factor for Alabama A&M. If you're Alabama A&M, you get by 30-27. I think if you're Bethune-Cookman, This is another coulda, woulda, shoulda. There were 4 drop passes in that ball game that if they're caught, Bethune-Cookman goes in to put points on the board. And those were the difference between 6 points, 3 points, and no points. I think from the quarterback position, I think Patrick from Bethune-Cookman missed some opportunities to scramble and get big yardage. So Bethune-Cookman starts off 0-1 in conference play. Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M, the 2 new members to the Southwestern Athletic Conference, both 0-1 in conference play. We'll talk about that. But this is just the start of the season, and Alabama A&M gets it started off right. They will go to Mobile this weekend and play Tuskegee. And if we saw anything in that North Carolina Central Winston-Salem State ball game, don't take the Golden Tigers lightly. I think that NC Central may have done that this weekend and ended up in a dog fight. I'm joined today by my man A.D. Drew. Speaking of Tuskegee, he's in the building. What's going on, Drew?
What's going on, BJ?
Oh man, I can't call it, man. We're going over the game of the week for week number 3. Alabama.
I've been watching the whole time.
Yeah, man. So, how? What was your thoughts on that ball game?
The Bethune A&M game.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about A&M, BJ. They will find a way through these 2 games that we've seen this year, and even going back to 2019, to let a team stay in the ball game and to hang around. So thus far, it has not hurt them, but sooner or later, it is going to hurt them where a team is going to take advantage, be able to take complete advantage of those opportunities that Alabama A&M leaves open to the door. Seems like Alabama A&M does not put their knee on somebody's throat when they have the opportunity, but instead gets up, lets them breathe, and you get hit with another gut punch if you're an Alabama A&M Bulldog. But they've got just enough to continue to win. And once again, they were able to outscore somebody. Defense.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Yeah, and this is the thing. Going back to what you said, Alabama A&M, the way that they played, I'm going to give you some numbers. One team outgained the other team 366 to 358. In the past game, it was 234 to 221. In the run game, it was 145 to 124. This is the biggest difference. Penalty yardage, 11 penalties for 91 yards, 14 penalties for 144 yards. And here's another big difference. Turnovers, 3-1. Bethune-Cookman outgained Alabama A&M on the ground. They averaged 5.5 yards to carry, put 221 up in the air, put 366 total yards on Alabama A&M. But the difference was those penalties, 144 yards in penalties, and 3 turnovers.
Yeah. And you got those 3 turnovers, BJ. But there was a couple of times that the ball was put on the ground that the offense recovered for both teams.
Yeah.
And like I tell everybody,
yeah,
the only time you see fumbles on the stat sheet is actually when the defense recovers the ball. If the offense gets the ball back, it doesn't go on the stat sheet, but it's a concern. Now, if that game Thursday night is on a dry track instead of a wet track like it was, does Bethune have enough to beat Alabama A&M? Something you have to question.
Yeah, and I think, one of the biggest questions coming to the ball game was how would Alabama A&M up front deal with the physicality of Bethune-Cookman? And I thought that Alabama A&M's offensive line held up well at times. I thought that Akil Glass did a great job of avoiding pressure. I thought that they did a good job at times with that defensive front.
Yeah.
But on the defensive line, I felt like Bethune-Cookman had their way with Alabama A&M, especially in the run game.
Yeah.
When Bethune-Cookman was determined that they were going to run the ball, Alabama A&M couldn't stop them. Could not stop them. But I will say this: one thing about the Alabama A&M defense, 2 game winning interceptions.
Yes.
When it matters, they shut that door. When it matters, they will shut that door closed. My question is, can you sustain that type of play, bend but don't break, living on the edge for an entire season?
Let's look at some of these powerhouse offensive teams that you have in the SWAC, or maybe lack of powerhouse offensive teams. Haven't seen Alcorn put up any tremendous points this year. And I'm going off the top of my head as I go around. Southern has been inconsistent offensively thus far this year. Alabama State hasn't done anything offensively thus far this year. FAMU hasn't done anything offensively thus far this year. This may have been their biggest test on the east side. Jackson State, they had the breakout game against Tennessee State. You take that game away, 1 touchdown in each of the other 2 games versus Florida A&M and UL Monroe. So Jackson State hasn't shown the consistency offensively. And who am I leaving out? Valley is Valley. So on the east side, they may be all right when they cross over and see possibly a Prairie View. Is UAPB on their schedule this year?
Yes.
Okay, that's another team who can score with Alabama A&M. So it's gonna take a team that can score with Alabama A&M. But right now, 2 games into the season, I don't think anybody on the East can put up enough points to scare that defense. It's going to be when they cross over that Alabama A&M is going to get that test during the regular season.
Now
And one other
remember,
thing,
go
I'll
ahead.
say one other thing. Speaking about Alabama A&M, have defenses started to figure out Aquia Glass? Because have you noticed his completion percentage has dropped over the the spring season and 2 games into this season compared to 2019 and 2018? Just something to throw out there.
Interesting. I didn't think about that angle.
Yeah, just a little bit. Figure them out just enough to be able to slow them down just a little bit. And I know it's about 3 weeks away, but I am really intrigued about A&M and Jackson State. That Jackson State defense has only given up 1 touchdown through 3 games, and that was on a Hail Mary at the end of the Tennessee State game. 2 field goals to FAMU, 3 field goals to Tennessee State, 4 field goals last night. So you talk about a bend but don't break. That's another bend but don't break defense. And that defense doesn't bend as much as the Alabama A&M defense has.
Yeah, and I you know what? I think with Akil Glass, I think one of the biggest things for him really on Thursday was that conditions. I think he's still impactful. I think what he has now, he had it with Jordan Bentley. People forget about that. Jordan Bentley was one of the leading rushers in the conference 2 years ago, 2019. Gary Qualls coming out of the backfield. He can catch it. He can run it. Not a big guy. Reminds me a lot of Hilaire that came out of LSU that plays for Kansas City now. He's in that same mode where he can catch it and he can run it. And I think that, to me, I think he's been the biggest X factor. And with Alabama A&M, man, they can spread the ball around so much. Kendrick Johnson didn't get that much involved on Thursday, but he's one of the better tight ends in the conference. I think they just have so many weapons. I think the key to beating Alabama A&M is going to start right up front. If you can get pressure on the keel glass, make the receivers on the outside kind of irrelevant because you're beating them up front, I think that's going to be the way to do them. I think if you're not able to get to him and disrupt them, there's just too much talent. It's too much. Too much on that offensive side of football.
I agree. I'm still waiting for that homecoming matchup though between those two in Jackson.
Oh yeah,
in Jackson, Mississippi. It's going to be we're going to see one or two things. Is we're going to see how good this Jackson State team is, or we're going to see, Aquia Glass is definitely a draft pick and probably a day 2 draft pick based upon that game.
Now I will tell you this: that game is in Huntsville, Alabama, and that's Alabama A&M's homecoming.
Oh, I'm sorry, I had that backwards. I'm sorry. You're correct. That's right. They went to Jackson
Alabama
last
A&M's
year.
homecoming. Yeah. So look, Alabama A&M, the month of October. I think they can handle business against Tuskegee. They should, relatively easy. But that month of October, Jackson State, FAMU, Alabama State, yeah, that's going to set them up or set them back.
Yes, definitely.
And that's what I'm really, really looking for. We talk about Alabama A&M moving forward.
I totally agree with you there, BJ. I totally agree with you with the Alabama A&M team.
Yeah. I mean, moving on along other games that we had in week 2, Grambling State. Talk about offenses. Well, offenses that
offense.
Are offensive. Yeah. Grambling State, another weekend, another shutout. 45-0 to Houston.
Just like Jackson State. I was going to say, just like Jackson State, defense has only given up 1 touchdown on the entire season. Grambling State's offense is the exact opposite, only scoring 1 touchdown on the entire season.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the thing that jumped out at me about this Houston and Grambling State contest. Grambling State, 3 first downs. 3 first downs. In an entire football game, 3 first downs. 102 yards of total offense, barely got over the century mark. And when you look at that offense against Houston, against Southern Miss, even against Tennessee State, for all the talk that we heard about, this offense is going to be explosive, they're going to be able to do this, they're going to be able to do that. Yikes. I mean, we're talking about opposite ends of the spectrum from an offense standpoint from Alabama A&M to Grambling State. That defense from Grambling State has to be spectacular. For them to stay in a ball game, that defense from Grambling State has to be spectacular. If they have an off series or two with the way that offense has been playing so far this season, ball game is over. And that's what scares me if I'm a Grambling State fan going into Dallas this weekend to face off against Prairie View. Because Prairie View can score. Prairie View can score. They might not be the best at stopping people from scoring, but they can score. And it's going to be interesting to see how that ball game plays out, because I don't know how the Grambling faithful would handle 4 straight losses to Prairie View.
Well,
I'm not sure.
Call some of your friends on Sunday, because you're gonna have to find out on Sunday, because there's no way that I have Grambling going into Dallas to beat Prairie View. And quiet as it kept, Prairie View, with the win over Grambling, will have a 2-game lead over everyone on the west side of the Swac, considering They wouldn't be the only one who's played two teams. Texas Southern, who they beat, and then Grambling. This would be their opening game, so they could have a comfortable lead in the SWAC. But yes, Prairie View, we know we have seen this before, where you guys have gotten off to good starts. And I've said this before. We said the same thing about UAPB for the last 5 years, where they get off to a good start and then fade out in the past. But this spring, they were able to put it together and hold on to that big lead. So maybe this is an opportunity for Prairie View to be the UAPB of the spring and get off to a good start and hold that lead.
Do you realize, AD Drew, Gremlins played two quarterbacks. Yesterday was Alden Clark. You saw in the Tennessee State game, as well as the game against Southern Miss, you saw them going with Elijah Walker. You realize that a Grambling quarterback has not cracked the 50% completion rate yet this season?
And you're giving them a chance Saturday, right?
Oh, I think when it's a rivalry game, anything can happen. I think they have a chance, yes. Now,
okay, let me change that. Do you give them a realistic chance?
I give them a puncher's chance.
Okay.
You know,
Buster Douglas against Mike Tyson.
Did it. Yeah.
Yes.
But do you realize in today's game of football, you don't have a quarterback that has cracked a 50% completion percentage. Last night, Alden Clark, I think he went 5 of 12 for 49 yards. 5 of 12 for 49 yards. That's an average of 4.1 yards per completion. Then you say, okay, well, maybe they had the running game that would help get it done. Nope. 34 carries, 53 yards, 1.6 yards per carry.
That's as a team.
As a team.
Wow. But you said they barely cracked 100 yards of offense total. So those numbers make sense. But what is the problem with the G-Men? How does a team that's been as good as Grambling has been, and Grambling has always been that team for the last 4 or 5 years in the SWAC, that starts off because of their schedule. They play the check games and everything. They start off 0-3, 0-4. But then at the end of October, you look up and they're one game out in the West. What has happened to that team?
I think it all starts up front. Their offensive line play has not been good for years. Even Devontae Kincaid's last year, that offensive line was not great. Devontae Kincaid's athleticism got them out of a lot. His ability to be able to escape the pocket, turn what would have been a sack into a 7, 8, 10, 12, 13 plus yard gain. That offensive line offensive line play has been bad and has trended downward. They've had some talent on the offensive line. There were NFL players on those offensive lines that we said were bad. NFL players were on those offensive lines. But as a whole, that offensive line has not been good. This year, no exception. Your best yardage production was against Tennessee State. That was 184 yards total. Yeah, it starts up front. And you can play the revolving chairs game at quarterback. Doesn't mean anything if you can't keep them from running for their lives, keep them upright, and establish some kind of run game.
So basically, what you're saying, basically what you're saying, when your best run is the run to get back to the line of scrimmage, your team is not doing good.
Yeah. Their best rushing output so far this season has been from Elijah Walker, week 1 against Tennessee State. And Grambling has some talented backs. Keelan Elder is down for the year. I think I like him, but they have some talented backs. They have some talented receivers. means nothing if you cannot protect the quarterback. And going into this game against Prairie View with that defensive line, with Dumas and those guys that Prairie View have up front, it could be a long day in Dallas for the G-Men. Someone just put in the chat, when you say puncher's chance, you say Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas, or Mike Tyson, Leon Spinks?
Wait. Now I give it to you. Who was that George Foreman beat when he was like 47 years old?
Oh yeah, man. Oh man,
You
I
know,
forgot
just
the
that
name.
one punch.
One punch.
Yes.
But yeah, Grambling. We'll talk about that game. Well, we'll talk about it now. Grambling and Prairie View. If someone said, "Hey, Drew, give me a score for that game next week at the Cotton Bowl," what's your score?
I got Prairie View will get somewhere in the 30s. I'm going to say something like 34-9. I think it's going to be a blowout.
Oof.
I think it's going to be a blowout. You know, they maybe 10. You know, Grambling won't get more than one. I get Grambling a touchdown and 2 field goals, so that's 34-13.
You got a comment from Dwight Moore. Dwight Moore said, "Who's quarterbacking for the G-Man? Has a kid from New York played?" No. That young man has not played yet. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if you want him to play behind this offensive line. I think a lot of times when our offenses struggle, people automatically think quarterback play. But it doesn't matter who's the quarterback if you can't keep them upright and you can't
How much of it is
protect them.
quarterback play and how much of it is scheme, though? You may be running the wrong scheme for the talent or the quarterback that you have, because you know how you play ball. I coached. Sometimes we as coaches get so bullheaded as this play has worked for me in the past. This system has worked for me in the past. I'm going to run my plays because I know they work. Not realizing every year you have a different set of players trying to run those plays, and your skill set may be good, but it may not be good or shine in my system.
I got another one for you, Drew. You said scheme and quarterback play. How about scheme and offensive line? I
Zone
know the
blocking,
biggest
man
thing
blocking.
that people like. I know the biggest thing that people like to do now is people want to spread. They want to go into the shotgun. But if you don't have those type of offensive linemen, those athletic offensive linemen who are athletic enough to drop back and pass block, to do those things, I've seen people with offensive linemen that are better equipped to lean on people, to just pound people and run the football, transition to a 4 or 5 wide and wonder why it didn't work. Like, when they say everything starts up front, and sometimes people will out scheme the talent that they have. So that people like to stop it at the quarterback. A lot of people follow the ball. You coached it. I've played and coached. I look at the entire play. I look at the development of the play from the line of scrimmage out. That's why when I'm at games, people throw the ball, boy, throw the ball. Well, they gotta set his feet to throw. Gotta set his feet to throw.
So who do we blame here? Do we blame the head coach, the OC, the offensive line coach? Somebody, and all of them are to blame at some level. But who do we give that 50% plus one vote to? Or is it somebody else?
The one consistent over all of this has been the head coach, because the head coach cleaned house. Got a new offensive line coach came in from UL Lafayette. You got a new offense coordinator that came in from I think from California, that was able to do some things well at the collegiate level. He's known for having explosive offenses. The head coach cleaned clean house. This is almost an entirely new staff. Almost entirely new staff, especially on the offensive side of the football. I don't know. I mean, the biggest thing is if you're a Tiger, if you're a G man, relax. You haven't played the conference game yet. There's room for improvement. Grambling has shown over the years that they will improve. And it's almost a wait and see. Now, I'm saying that on a Sunday, the week heading to the State Fair Classic. Now, if things go awry on Saturday, it's going to be, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad.
Since we're talking about this, we got 2 coaches in Dallas potentially may have a president. Well, one may have the president waiting on him when he gets off the airplane or off the bus, excuse me. The other one maybe have the president waiting for him when he rides the bus back to Houston. Which one is more likely to have that meeting with the president Monday morning with a loss? If they lose that game, which of those 2 coaches you think may be down in the president's office Monday morning?
Broderick Fobbs. Because this will be 4 straight losses to Prairie View. And it's not the fact that you're losing to Prairie View. It's the fact that who's leading Prairie View. The offensive coordinator that you had the last time that you won the conference title. The offensive coordinator that you had when you won the Celebration Bowl title. And when you look at where the program was, Dooley as offensive coordinator, Dooley not there, it's night and day. Night and day. The Grambling has not won what we call the trophy games. Bayou Classic, State Fair Classic, Swac Championship game. Hadn't won trophy games since Broderick Fobbs. Since Eric Dooley has left. The only trophy game that they won was this year, Tennessee State. And they beat Jackson State in the 2019. They beat Jackson State in the classic there in Jackson. But the big ones, no trophies. I think that if you lose on Saturday, I don't think a conversation's had, but I think a lot of people are mad enough that they want the conversation had.
Gotcha. What about what's going on the reservation?
Well, I will say this before we dive into what happened, what's going on the reservation. Shout out to Alcorn State. No one gave Alcorn any chance to go to South Alabama and do what they did. And that South Alabama, especially after South Alabama did what they did to Southern Mississippi. They put them hands on Southern Miss. And a lot of people thought that Alcorn would go down and they would be the sacrificial lamb. On top of everything that happened this week, USA Today, Fox News, everybody was on this story. Alcorn should have won that football game. That was a controversial call that saved South Alabama, that bailed them out. Alcorn had that ball game won. So shout out to Alcorn, Coach Fred McNair. You see what he's able to do. Even when they have nothing, he makes up for it. So shout out to the Braves. They don't look like they're going anywhere. I know a lot of people after that North Carolina Central game, they kind of just wrote off, Alcorn. Well, we don't have to worry about them. Well, you're wrong. Braves are here. Not going anywhere. So shout out to Alcorn State, 28-21. Tough loss. Very impressed with that football team. What they were able to do, not only offensively, but defensively. They pushed South Alabama around yesterday. They pushed South Alabama around on yesterday. So impressive. Now, for the bad, it is a shame what's happening at Alcorn State University. All right? It is a shame what's going on there because at the end of the day, the kids lose. When the egos and everything are put aside, when they're put to bed, it is the kids that lose. It is the kids that are cheated out of experiences that they should have being collegiate athletes. It's the kids that are being cheated out of this. And this is one of the things that irks me when we have these issues at the HBCU level. Everybody has these issues. We just don't hide ours well. All right? And we can't hide ours, right? But when these things happen, it's the kids that are cheated. It's the kids that suffer. And I think the situation at Alcorn has gotten so bad that somebody has to go. It will either be the athletic director or it's going to be the head coach. But this marriage is so tainted and so bad, they both can't stay.
You think both of them may leave?
I think it'll be one or the other. I think if one leaves, the other one will be so excited that the other one's gone that they'll stay. I think personally, I think that Fred McNair is royalty. That McNair family is royalty, and I think it's a certain way that you treat royalty. There are certain people, their names are synonymous with their HBCU. All right, the McNairs, Alcorn State.
Peyton's at Jackson State.
Yeah, the Peytons at Jackson State. You know what I mean? There's a certain way that you just. This is unfair to Fred McNair. It's unfair to his football team. It's unfair to that program.
It's unfair to all those student
that
athletes.
All of them.
Yes.
And if you look at Alcorn's athletic program, I'm talking about all sports. Outside of football, who's winning? Outside of football, who's winning? You got one thing and you're about to mess that up. You about to mess that up. All right. It ain't like the basketball team, no disrespect to them, is out here cutting down no nets.
Got
it ain't
a new
like
women's coach.
Got a new women's coach. All right, got a new women's coach. We'll see what happens there.
Actually, didn't they clean house on both sides?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I think that, the basketball team has been close. Softball. Thank you, Edgar. Softball's been okay. They ain't winning no titles like football, but they've been okay. You got this one thing going in this small rural Mississippi school, and ego is about to choke it out and kill it. And the ego is about to choke it out and kill it on one of your own. On one of your own. Fred McNair didn't come from Michigan. Fred McNair didn't come from California. He wasn't a Southern Miss guy that had to go to Alcorn for opportunity. He is the original Air McNair. He is the original Air McNair. My heart goes out to the people at Alcorn. My heart goes out to the people at Alcorn. I got friends that are alumnus, cousins that are alumnus, one that's still in school there right now. Shout out to L'Oreal Childress. But yeah, they they are frustrated, and they have every right to be frustrated. Mallet said, my boy Jay Mallet, what's up, man? Said the ADs go leave and everybody better watch out. Man, we'll see. We'll see how this thing plays out. But I don't think it's to the point both of them can't stay. How you feel about that one, man?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Like you said, somebody has got to go. And I'm surprised there hasn't been some type of investigations or something like that, especially when it comes to this training thing. I'm surprised that it hasn't triggered some type of Title IX violation. Or let's be real, people are petty. I know somewhere somebody has sent a message to Indianapolis saying it stink down here. This stuff ain't right. Y'all need to come look. So I'm just surprised it hasn't gotten out further, because some of these stories that I've been hearing over the last year or so about Alcorn, they're not new. And you're in the circle, I'm in the circle. We hear things from people that we dare better not repeat, because if we repeat it, they'll figure out who told us what. But
Yeah.
this was not a surprise to me. It was a surprise that it got out. But when the head coach is the one who puts it out, what more can you say? It wasn't like there was a whistleblower. He blew the whistle on his own program. And when you blow the whistle like that on your own program, excuse my language, you tired of that shit. It's just that simple. You just can't deal with it no more.
And Fred McNair was a man that was fed up the other night. He was a man that was fed up the other night. And you could see the frustration on his face. Fred McNair is usually easygoing. One of the best, not really interviews, but if you just sit back and just talk to a coach, I probably had the most fun just sitting back just talking to Fred McNair. Because I remember we just sat back one time and talked 5-10 minutes and didn't talk anything about football. He's just one of those guys. For him to be to that point, and remember, he's an Alcorn guy. Played football at Alcorn. Graduated from Alcorn. When he gets to that point where he puts the family business out there, he's past pissed off. He passed pissed off miles ago.
And we've talked about it before. It's going to come down to the alumni, the boosters, and all those who care about Alcorn putting pressure on the president to solve this problem, or whatever the board structure is in the state of Mississippi. I don't know if they call them board of trustees or whatever they call them, board of regents or whatever. But there's got to be outside pressure to those decision makers to get in and to clean this mess up, because you're making us look bad. And if Alcorn does not win this Swac West, or at least in contention on the last week of the season to win the Swac West, you're going to hear a lot of outside pressure in there. Is like, this can't be, because like you said, this is the one thing that we have that's going good. They say all press is good press, but there's a limit to that. And Alcorn is stretching that limit right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the thing about it is, you said that the IHL is what governs higher education in the state of Mississippi.
Okay.
This is the problem. Your AD is golfing buddies, is cronies with a lot of those people. Those relationships that he has, graduate of Ole Miss, played basketball at Ole Miss, politically connected. That's the problem. Because the people that you got to go tell on them to are his buddies. The reason he got the job, he was suggested for the job in the first place. Man, that's rough down there, man. That's rough. So my heart goes out to Alcorn.
I was gonna even so it's gonna get to a point where they can't even defend you anymore.
Yeah.
And yes, my heart goes out to him also, BJ.
And this is the thing about Alcorn. They keep chugging along. We talk about Thursday night matchups. Alabama A&M, Bethune-Cookman on last week. This week, AD Drew, we got another big Thursday night one. Alcorn State going on the road. All right, going on the road. Arkansas Pine Bluff, the Western Division champions from the spring, the 6-time Eastern Division champion. We're talking about between these two, 7 division titles in the last, 7 seasons?
Yes.
Hey, that was football on Thursday. Alcorn State visiting Arkansas Pine Bluff. Arkansas Pine Bluff on yesterday. They went to play Central Arkansas. Solid program that was in the Southland, left and went to the ASUN. Arkansas Pine Bluff couldn't get it done. They lost their game 45-23. Central Arkansas picks up their first win of the year. Arkansas Pine Bluff at that point, AD Drew cut that lead down to 31-23. End of the third quarter. Remember, they were down 31-9 at one point. Cut that lead down to 31-23, and then Central Arkansas pulled away. But Arkansas Pine Bluff, they talked about being disrespected, winning the West during the spring season. They were predicted to finish, 4th in the West in the fall when we went out to media day?
Check that was 5.
5, okay, which was worse. All right. They feel disrespected. As well
as they should.
Alcorn feels a little bit disrespected. All right. We lost the belt, but we didn't lose the belt. You know, you the man, but you didn't beat the man. I understand where Alcorn's coming from. I think you got 2 football teams. Western Division matchup. I think that we'll see a heck of a football game up in Pine Bluff, Arkansas on Thursday night. And let me get this message out. Arkansas Pine Bluff. Thursday night, especially your students. Thursday night, you got the favorite in the Western Division coming to your house on the Thursday night. If you are local, you should be at that ball game. There's no reason not to pack that place out and have that to be an exciting display of football on Thursday night. If you're a student in Arkansas Pine Bluff, no reason for you not to be in the stadium on Thursday night. All right? No reason. So, like I said, looking forward to that ball game. Felix Harper and that Alcorn offense, that Alcorn defense as well, going up against Skylar Perry and some of the weapons they have offensively. Jalen Thigpen on the defensive side of the ball for Arkansas Pine Bluff. I think I'm looking forward to that one, man. I'm looking forward to that one. I'm going to go back and watch Arkansas Pine Bluff in Central Arkansas. I watched Alcorn in South Alabama a little bit last night. If I had to lean right now, I would lean the Braves. I think Alcorn will win that ball game. But I'm going to go back on and watch Arkansas Pine Bluff to see if am I missing something. So I'll get a score prediction out there sometime this week. But I'm looking forward to that one. That's my game of the week.
It's definitely one of the games of the week. Probably the game of the week when it comes to the Division One teams that we have. The only other game that you may have that could compare it, and I know we on SWAC right now, would be Central and A&T over Big South versus MEAC, with that being a rivalry game. Those are the top two games of the week, with that Central A&T game being 6 o'clock Saturday in Greensboro. So, but getting back to your game, Alcorn feels like, since we've been using boxing analogies all night thus far, feels like Muhammad Ali. When Muhammad Ali got stripped of his title back in the 60s because he refused to go to Vietnam, so he was no longer champion and had to fight to get his championship back, and thought he was going to be fighting Joe Frazier for the championship, but obviously Frazier lost at the fight beforehand. So that's kind of what it feels like. Ali being stripped and Ali having to go back and regain his championship. That's how Alcorn feels right now. But it's going to be a tough road. I really do think, and I'm torn on this game just like you are. I think UAPB may be in a little bit better position, especially with Alcorn traveling on a short week to Central Arkansas to play the game. So I really think UAPB should have the advantage in this particular game. But this is Alcorn we're talking about. McNair has his teams prepared. And if this week didn't show you anything, how Fred McNair has his team prepared despite obstacles and focus, then you just won't believe in Alcorn for anything.
Yeah. I like Alcorn. And for I think that they have come together. The mistakes that they made in week 1 against Central, they haven't made moving forward. Felix Harper protects the football, big key. That defense, the light has come on. Alcorn was my prediction to win the Western Division title. People asked me after week 1, did I want to change that? And I said, hey man, this is chess. It ain't checkers. Let it all play out. But I think Alcorn is sitting pretty. I like Alcorn to win. If I had to just give you a score right now, I would probably say Alcorn maybe 24-13. But it's gonna be interesting. And I think for Arkansas Pine Bluff, you need this one because people expect Arkansas Pine Bluff as a program to do what they do. They go up here, come down here. Go up here and come down here. I think Doc Gamble is working to try to keep that program from bottoming out. Going high and bottoming out like we've seen in the past. And I think for Arkansas Pine Bluff, this is one of the games that you need to make a statement. This is a football game that you need to make a statement. We'll see. I thought that they had an opportunity with Central Arkansas. Central Arkansas is not nearly as strong as a program that we've seen in the past. They're still pretty well coached. The Bears aren't as good as we've seen in the past. I thought that was an opportunity. But they have an opportunity to make a statement in conference with Alcorn coming into Arkansas Pine Bluff to make a statement. So we'll see. We'll see.
If you ask me for a score right now, 5 days out from the game, 27-17, Pine Bluff.
You like Pine Bluff?
I like Pine Bluff.
No. Yeah,
I'll say we 5 days out. I might change it, but we 5 days out. I like Pine Bluff right now.
There you go. I like Alcorn. I like Alcorn. I say 24-13. I like Alcorn. I haven't determined really about how much or how little, but I like Alcorn to get this one done.
Yeah. Definitely. What you
Man,
think about Central
so
and A&T? Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to ask you what you think about Central and A&T.
you know what? Prior to this weekend, I said, I thought that this could be probably be a good game, but I think we saw Central really. I think they were looking ahead, and I almost got bit by Winston-Salem State. I like North Carolina A&T to win it. North Carolina A&T has pounded Central these last couple of meetings. It hadn't been competitive at all. Um, I think that this game coming up on Saturday, I like A&T to win it. And I think it will probably be a 14 plus points. How you feeling about that one?
Haven't really had a chance to break that one down. You know, Central get an opportunity to quote unquote win the state. You know, represent the old MEAC. That game means probably more to Central than it does to A&T for pride. So, and yes, they did get caught looking ahead. I mean, they playing little Division II Winston Salem. You know, they wasn't really worried about that. We got this game next week. Almost bit them in the ass. So,
Yep.
but as A&T taking too much of a pounding in these first couple of non-conference games, you know, the bye week helps A&T. Let's them get healthy. But you know that's the one question I have for A&T. Does A&T even still have? A&T doesn't appear to have that swagger that they've had for the past 3-4 years. The way it's not that they've lost these couple of games. The way they've lost these first couple of games this year, will they get that swagger back against Central? Yes, we know it's a rivalry game, so you're gonna get up for that. But even still, A&T used to go into games with a different swagger. We are A&T, Aggie pride. We cannot be beat. Well, they've not only been beat this year, but they've been beat. I won't say bad, but they haven't been beaten like this in the last few years. Do they still have that swag?
I think they do. I think with A&T, I think the Furman game is a disappointing loss. No way around that one. I think they played Duke extremely well. Um, so no. I give them a lot of credit for the way they competed against Duke. I think this North Carolina Central game is we'll know on Saturday, and I don't think we will know until then what North Carolina A&T is. I know they came in with predicted to finish third in the Big South behind Monmouth and Kennesaw State. Um, you know, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, but they better not sleep on Central. Like, better not sleep on Central. I think that Central has some playmakers to get it done. I'm looking forward to watching that ball game. But like I said, I think A&T gets it done by 14, about 14 points.
I want to see if Richard plays because I noticed he only played only had like one pass attempt in this game against Winston Salem. I don't know if that was due to injury or something else, but I, if he does not play, yes, this is A&T's game to lose, as they say. A&T should win this game if he does not play. He will make the game competitive for Central.
Yeah, and it was good to see those two back on the field together. Winston-Salem State, North Carolina Central, first time in a decade. I think that was the 45th meeting between the two.
Yeah.
I
I think it's the
personally believe
first
that
time
all those
since
schools.
Central went up. I think it's the first time since Central
Um,
entered the MEAC that they've played. If not, it's got to be the second time. Might be
yeah,
the second
20. Yeah, it
time.
was 20. 2011 was the last time that they played. So
Yeah.
it's about right. I personally think they should all play each other. Central, A&T, and Winston-Salem State. Went to a game up there a few years ago. It's amazing how close those schools are, and how much the fan bases interact and intermingle with each other. So yeah, this week the Aggie Eagle Classic, or Eagle Aggie Classic, depending on which side that you're on. It's back, and if you're an Eagle, you want to get some revenge from these last few years because it's been tail feathers everywhere. I mean,
Yes.
it's been tail feathers everywhere. So we'll see that game is actually this weekend, 6 o'clock on ESPN Plus. So if you can tune into that, uh, North Carolina Central visiting North Carolina A&T, 6 p.m. On ESPN Plus. In the Southwestern Athletic Conference, last night we talked about Alcorn, we talked about Grambling, Prairie View. We talked about that matchup with Grambling, but Prairie View getting a win over Houston Baptist 37-27. I was shocked to see that game so close at one point. They were going tit for tat for a minute there. Prairie View finally pulls it off 37-27. That sets up the matchup with Grambling State. We talked about that. Florida A&M 38 loses 38-17 against South Florida. A lot of people thought that FAMU would have a legitimate shot against South Florida. That wasn't the case. South Florida gets that win. Stephen F. Austin was just all over Mississippi Valley, 58-13. Man, I feel bad for the Delta Devils and Coach Dancy. Two games that I really want to talk about. Jackson State going to Monroe, Louisiana, taking on FBS La Monroe. That game, 12-7, La Monroe pulls it off. Jackson State has some opportunities to win that football game.
Can't
Another
win a game with
case,
4 turnovers.
you cannot. You cannot. They outgained La Monroe 285-250. Beat them in the pass game, 259-156. Jackson State cannot run the football. 26 rushing yards. Only averaging 1.5 yards per carry. La Monroe ran the ball for 94 yards on 41 carries. 3 turnovers to 0 turnovers. That's your big difference. That's your
And
big
despite all
difference.
that, they were still in the ball game.
Still in the ball game. But Jackson State only had 16 first downs. La Monroe had 17. This is a weird game, man. It was a weird game. I was waiting for Jackson State to find, to blow it open, and it just never happened. But Jackson State, that defense, the dark side might be back. The dark side defense is what they call themselves. They're back. Now this is the dark side. You can call this group the dark side. Some of those other groups in the past, you just play. That's just Jackson State's defense. But this is the dark side right here. And I think that defensively, I like what they're able to do going into SWAC play with this defense humming the way that they are. They got some dudes over there. They got some dudes over there. They got Delta State this weekend, Division II opponent. Don't sleep on them. Delta State ain't the Delta State of the other past. This is not the states. This ain't your daddy's statesman. This different Delta State. I think they should be able to handle Delta State with no problems. I think they have to protect themselves from playing down to another team's level. But I think after that, the football games are going to start for Jackson State, and we'll see exactly what they have. That Delta State game is going to be on Saturday. I think it's 3 p.m. kick. That's going to be an interesting one. Jackson State and Delta State. Another team had some opportunities last night, Southern University, McNeese State. Southern was up 21-10 at one point in that ball game. They end up losing it, 31-24. Jaguar faithful frustrated at how the team performed in the second half. To go from 21-10 up, and then getting outscored in the second half. Yeah. A lot of people are asking Tulsa and Chase, hey, what's going on with Southern? We don't know. We don't know. There's a lot going on with Southern. Discipline, number one. Turnovers, number two. Missed tackles, number three. Inconsistent quarterback play, number four. There's a lot. Right? There's a lot going on with Southern. There's not one thing. But we'll see what happens with them as they open up conference play on Sunday. Remember, they're going to play on Sunday against Mississippi Valley. That game is going to be on ESPN Plus. I think that's going to be a 2 p.m. Kick in Jackson, Mississippi, not in Itta Bena, Mississippi. That one's going to be in Jackson, Mississippi on Sunday. So we'll see what the Jaguars look like on Sunday. Just if you're keeping score at home, the Swac slate this week looks like this. Arkansas Pine Bluff will host Alcorn State on Thursday night. That's going to be a 7:30 ESPNU game. So make sure if you're not in the building, you're checking that one out on ESPNU. Delta State visits Jackson State on Saturday at 3 p.m. Grambling and Prairie View in the State Fair Classic out in Dallas in the Cotton Bowl. That game will kick off at 5 o'clock. Tuskegee and Alabama A&M will link up in Mobile, Alabama in the Gulf Coast Challenge. What's wrong, AD True? You think that was going to get bloody and ugly?
Look, you know I'm a Tuskegee man. I just hope we can keep them under 50.
You know when you used to get in trouble as a kid and you do something that just went over the line, right? You just went over the line and your mom say, I'm finna get you for old and for new. Right. That's how I feel about Tuskegee going in this game. I think the Alabama A&M was about to get ready to get Tuskegee for old and new. Yeah.
It's but even if we lose this, we still own the series like 37-17 or 37-21, something ridiculous like that. So we own the state of Alabama. So it's time for some people to try to catch up with us at Tuskegee.
Yes, but for all those years that you beat them.
And everybody coming back to get us the same time.
Yeah. Also in the SWAC this week, there's another interesting matchup, AD Drew. We talk about coaches on the hot seat. We talk about Bethune-Cookman goes to Montgomery, Alabama on Saturday. 6 p.m. ESPN Plus kick. Bethune-Cookman visits Alabama State on Saturday. Yeah.
Hold up. Charles Jemison, check that. Tuskegee has the series record over Alabama A&M. I just did the research on it because I just did the research on Tuskegee's 700 victories. Check your research. I'm sorry, man. I had to cut that off.
Okay. But yeah, Bethune-Cookman looking for a SWAC conference win number one, going to Montgomery, Alabama. It's Alabama State who needs a win. Needs to start off conference play 1-0. CJ Jemison said you can right heel Eli's eulogy. If this thing don't go right in Montgomery on Saturday, look at the next few games for Alabama State. You got Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M, Jackson State, Alabama A&M. Those are the next few games. I want you to find a win in there.
Tuskegee owns a record 27-23-3 over Alabama A&M. Last meeting was 2014. A&M did win that one 30-17. I'm sorry.
But yeah. Think about that one. Bethune-Cookman, Alabama State. That's one that people's gonna sleep on. But I think that's a key game in the East Division. Because if you Cookman, you lose that when you drop to 0-2. It ain't over, but you need a lot of stuff to go right to get back in it.
Alabama State loses it, then once again, we may have a conversation Monday morning in somebody's president's office.
Yeah. Yeah. Or people start preparing to have the conversation because you're going to look ahead on that schedule and look what's coming on the horizon. If you look at the horizon for Alabama State, you got to visit Tallahassee on October the 2nd. Arkansas Pine Bluff comes to visit you on October the 9th for homecoming. You visit Jackson State for their homecoming, October the 16th. Magic City Classic, October the 30th. When you see the wins, you let me know. The wins that you're confident in.
I'm waiting on you to go through the rest of the schedule so I can see if I can find one.
If we got to go past Magic City Classic, there's going to be some. We know how Alabama State gets down, okay? We know how Alabama State get down. They're not afraid to pull that trigger in the middle of the year.
We've seen it before.
Especially on the contract that expires in December anyway.
With the new athletic director in town.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're Alabama State, this game against Bethune-Cookman is critical. It's crucial for both teams. I would almost say this is a must-win for both teams on Saturday. Bethune-Cookman, if you lose this one, man, you can go ahead. You can just about hang it up. You can just about hang it up because you'll start 0-2 in the conference before we get to October. And that's 0-2 before you get to Jackson State, before you get to Florida A&M. Before you get to some other teams on that schedule. So Bethune-Cookman needs this one. I think the pressure is on both of these programs on Saturday, which is why I think this game will be close. I like Bethune-Cookman to get by on this one, but I think it's gonna be close. And our last game featuring a conference member, Texas Southern visits Rice, and I don't even know what to call this one. 0-2 versus 0-3. It's like a matchup between bad and batter. You've heard of the movie Dumb and Dumber? Well, this is the matchup between. This is the matchup between bad and batter. We'll see what happens with this one. Speaking of conversations and presidents having conversations, how far is that one off in Houston, Texas with Clarence McKinney?
I think. I don't know. I think he might be safe he'll be safe through the end of the year. Now, it may be some deep thought, but I really think he probably gets one more year to try to get this thing figured out. Because they're on the upside, so I just think he's going to get one more year. I can't tell you. I can't really pinpoint why. It's just a gut feeling that I have. He's going to get one more year there to try to get it figured out. But he's got to show some promise. He's got to show a trend in the right direction this year. Can't do another offer.
No. And man, over in the MEAC yesterday. Howard and Hampton. Did you watch that game?
I caught the highlights of that game. Howard, with their 3 turnovers in the third quarter, really turned that game around for Hampton. Hampton was winning, but Hampton took control of the momentum in the third quarter, scored on 2 of those 3 turnovers. Howard tried to make a ball game out of it in the fourth quarter. So, but Howard looking bad, man. That's the best base I could put it right now.
Howard looks bad. Morgan State looks bad. Delaware State looks bad. When you start talking about the MEAC, it looks like it might be a 3-horse race, with the lead horse being South Carolina State. With South Carolina State, Norfolk State, and North Carolina Central. Because everyone else in that league right now doesn't look good. How you feeling about that one?
Give me those teams again.
I think it's a 3-horse race. Lead horse being South Carolina State. I think that your teams right behind them, you're going to have Norfolk State and North Carolina Central.
Almost by default. That's why I had to ask you to give me those again. Delaware State could be the one team that could sneak into that top half of the division and possibly, I'm trying to see who, if I put Delaware State in there, who do I have to take somebody out? I almost want to say Norfolk would be the team I would take out. Right now, today, what's this? September 19th? Yeah. If I put Delaware State in, I have to take Norfolk out. I thought South Carolina State would be the clear runaway in the MEAC. South Carolina State realistically could go into the MEAC play 0-5, 0-6 by the time they start conference play. Because they have a gauntlet of a schedule. South Carolina State probably has the toughest schedule, non-conference, in HBCU football in general. And they may go into MEAC play paying for that. If they can go into the MEAC healthy, they'll be the front runner to be the representative in the Celebration Bowl. But do we really want to see a 5-6 or a 6-5 MEAC winner in the Celebration Bowl? Are people gonna come to Atlanta to see that? I don't think so. Just my opinion.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. It's definitely interesting the way that league is playing out. I think that South Carolina State had an opportunity to get a big win on yesterday against New Mexico State. They lost that one 43-35. Had opportunities to win that football game, couldn't capitalize. Norfolk State just was all over Elizabeth City yesterday. We'll see. Like I said, we will see. As we get ready to wrap up the show, Drew, we talk about this. Your game of the week next week. If you had one game of the week, this is the must see. What would be that game for next week?
Let me glance at my schedules right quick while you saying that. Hold up, because I had all of them pulled up here just a second ago. There it is. There's my. Had to go find my on it tab on my laptop, man. Game of the week. I'm gonna do it like this. I'm gonna give you one upper division game, and I'm going to give you a lower division game.
Okay.
In the upper division, I'm going to take the. I'm gonna take the Aggie Eagle Classic.
Okay.
because of the rivalry in that game. Yeah, I know that UAPB Alcorn is a division game, but it's something about those rivalry games that sets those games apart from and the fact that they're no longer MEAC rivals doesn't matter when those two teams come together. So that will be my large school game of the week. One to keep an eye on in the Division Two ranks is going to be the Kentucky State and I believe it's Kentucky State Savannah. No, Kentucky State Benedict. Benedict off to that great 2-1 start. They showed me something against Savannah State this past weekend. Because I didn't give Benedict any credit for those first two wins. I mean, they defeated Edward Waters, they defeated Allen. You really haven't shown me anything with those two wins. But the way they played Savannah State this past weekend, and then we all know Kentucky State doing it. I don't know what happened this past Saturday. I did not expect, first of all, I didn't expect Kentucky State to lose. But to lose by that type of score to Tennessee State was kind of an anomaly to me. So I want to see if Kentucky State has that bounce back. And Benedict with that loss. Two teams coming off of losses. Let's see how they play. So those are the two games that I am going to be the most intrigued about this upcoming weekend.
Man, for me, I think it's going to be Thursday night. It's Alcorn. It's Arkansas Pine Bluff. If I had a number two, it would be North Carolina A&T and North Carolina Central. And if there's a sleeper out the group, it'd be Bethune-Cookman visiting Alabama State down to Montgomery. I think that all of those games are key. Two of them are division games that's going to determine, who gets to, who gets to the conference championship game, as well as to Atlanta for the Celebration Bowl. So I think that those are the three games to kind of look at. Once again, appreciate everyone for tuning in. Next week we will go in and we will review week number 4, preview week number 5. We'll have some guests in next week, AD Drew. Hope that you're ready. We'll have some guesting next week. I will roll out that guest list to you guys by Thursday of this week on who we will have on. Remember, I told you we will have a marching band element. So we will talk about the HBCU bands as well. I know you're a fan of that, AD Drew. We go
watching 100 all those years, and then watching the Crimson Pipers. I've become a band geek.
All right, so like I said, we're gonna have some directors as well as some videographers on. You might see a PJ Howard sighting here soon from Alabama State University. Shout out to PJ. But yeah, man, looking forward to it next week. Next week we'll be doing the full 2 hours. You got 9 minutes. The first time we gave you 60. This time we give you 90. Next week the full 2 hour shebang bang. So looking forward to it. Top 5 Tuesday be this week. It'll be interesting to see who's in the top 5, who jumps up into the top 5, who falls out of the top 5. This week, Top 5 Tuesday will be released on Twitter as well as on my Facebook page. Make sure that you are following my Twitter at Inside HBCU F-Ball. Make sure that you are following us at myjbn / my BCSN. So if you miss us going live when we do this, you can catch the podcast. YouTube, myjbn1. Make sure you subscribe and follow there as well. yeah, man, looking forward to next week. Gonna have some guesting. Each week you'll see the show kind of grow and develop. Um, Shout out to AG Drew for taking some time out to be a part of this. Shout out to my good man Roy Evans, boss man, making it happen behind the scenes. Like I say, man, you guys appreciate everyone who tunes in and listens and supports us. I really appreciate you. Let me kick it over to AD Drew for his closing remarks, and we're going to get up out of here.
Saturday, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Make sure you tune in as we will have that Tuskegee, Alabama A&M game. Gonna be the only place that you will be able to watch that in the I don't forgot the name of the doggone classic. Coming to you live from Mobile, Alabama, Lad People Stadium. So
The Gulf
make
Coast
sure
Challenge.
you Gulf Coast Challenge. I do they had changed what they call it this year, but yeah, the Gulf Coast Challenge coming for you. That's I believe that's at 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central is going to be that kickoff right here on the Black College Sports Network, and we'll come at you with pregame show and everything, our game time show. So definitely want to get you to tune into that. Make sure that you download the BCSN Pod Zone, available on all everywhere you get your podcast, or Anchor, Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere that you get your podcast. And either sometime this evening or sometime tomorrow, this podcast will be on there also for your listening pleasure while you're riding along in your car. Because we don't want you to watch us while you're riding along in your car. Just listen to us talk trash to each other. And just appreciate you, BJ, for letting me come along and be in just riding in the back seat or riding shotgun, however you want to put it, for your show. Appreciate you. One love, brother, always.
And appreciate you being here, man. And I appreciate all you guys. Guys, make sure you support the Black College Sports Network. Bringing games to you live, Tuskegee University, the amazing partnership that we have with them. So making sure you go to Tiger fans if you can't get to the ball game. Make sure you follow us so you can keep up with your Golden Tigers.
Bulldogs invited too this weekend.
Yeah, Bulldogs as well. So, hey, man, just make sure you go out and support, man. We appreciate everyone for your love and support, and we'll keep making this thing great. I'm BJ Jones, signing off for week 3. That's AD Drew. He's usually the man behind the scenes, but we got him in front of the camera today. We're signing out. We'll catch y'all next Sunday right here on the Black College Sports Network.